Happy Juneteenth, everyone. Hi, and welcome to my channel, Inside Out Triangle, where we think outside the box. I am here with my husband and my daughters, and today we're going to be focusing on history, horror stories. But first, let me start by, I had to get Popeyes chicken today. It had to be done. I found out that Popeyes actually delivers in my area, so I went and got a 16-piece. I got French fries, got dirty rice, we got the shrimp basket, and mashed potatoes and gravy, plus a huge soda. Okay? All right, so let's go ahead and get started. Today's horror history lesson, and I want to make sure that I do this story justice, is about a 14-year-old boy who was, well, first off, I don't know if other cultures know this, but in the African American culture, it's just like a regular thing that when you meet somebody and you're like talking to them, you're trying to be friends with them, or you're dating them, it's just a normal thing to say, hey, where are your people from? Like when I met my husband, we were talking about it, and he said his people were from North Carolina, and I said, well, on my father's side, my people from North Carolina, but on my mother's side, my people from Georgia. So it's just a natural thing that a lot of Black people migrated from the South and came up to the North for various reasons. We all kind of know what the main reason was, but for different reasons as well. So getting back to the 14-year-old boy, his people were in Chicago. And in Chicago, it was him, his mother, and the grandmother. And the grandmother basically watched him because his mother worked long hours and she went to school, and she also took care of him, but he had to grow up and be just a little bit more grown than a lot of other 14-year-old boys because he had to cook and clean while his mom was out working and stuff. But before we go ahead and get into everything, let's eat. I am not a white meat person. I really actually like dark meat more. So if people want to come and get a piece of the delicious white meat, that would be great. So I can go ahead and dig into the rest of it because the dark meat is more towards the bottom. So let's see if people actually come and get some French fries and dirty rice and, delicious shrimp. And I bought one biscuit for my husband because I'm not really a bread person. I'm not really a bread person. He's asking for a plate, and that ain't happening. Just go and get a piece of chicken. And there's one. And here's another. White meat too. I didn't know you like white meat. Oh, okay, all right. She's up. Are you gonna get pieces? Dang, that's messed up. Okay. So, let's see. I guess I'll start with the drumstick. Popeyes is delivered hot and fresh and delicious. Oh my goodness. There's also some ranch there too. And don't forget the hot sauce. Everybody got hot sauce? Hot sauce? He's trying to be funny by just cupping the chicken in his hand like this because no one is giving him a plate. I don't have a plate. Just grab it. Yes. There you go. And you got your fries too. Nice. I'm just gonna add a little hot sauce because for some reason Popeye's hot sauce is just tasty and delicious. And add that on there. Go ahead and take a delicious bite. Here we go. Oh my god. Popeyes is so good. The flavor plus the hot sauce, it's amazing.
Do you like Popeyes more or KFC?
Back in the day, I would say KFC hands down. I haven't worked for KFC for a little while because I wanted to learn their chicken recipes. I was the chef in the back that fried the chicken. I did that for a week. Only because it wasn't because it was like really horrible. It was actually okay. The seasoning comes in like this pre-packaged seasoning, so you can't figure out what the seasoning is. But you put it in like flour, and they have like dehydrated eggs, which I've never heard of before. You mix that in with the flour, and that's how they bread the chicken for the original recipe. But if you want to do the extra crispy, you have to bread it twice. So
it sounds like a KFC spot.
I know you're telling all their secrets.
I said I did it for a week. Just 1 week. Only because I had just got out of culinary school. It was my second job in the food service industry. And the person that was training me, she was like, "You wash your hands too much."
You're about to get sued by people that watch this video.
I'm just saying. I would think in the food service industry, that shouldn't be a thing. If I'm washing my hands, that's a good thing. That's good hygiene while you're trying to serve the customer. But it was just that KFC, because I love KFC. Anyway, back to your original question. I love KFC. I love the original recipe. But now, Popeyes has a chicken sandwich. Every time you go to Popeyes, it's hot and delicious. Usually, they don't forget anything in your order. I'm good with Popeyes. So, yeah, sometimes you do need to crunch. So, I like Popeyes just a little bit better now.
What if Popeyes had the original recipe like KFC? I want to have it there.
That'd be pretty good because Popeyes is tasty. You know what I'm saying? Like the flavor. So Popeyes.
They had a different recipe, like it's crunchy.
Mm-hmm. Popeyes was a little a little less crunch. Not with this one. That's pretty good. Seriously, that crunch. Oh my gosh.
Okay, so what are we here to talk about?
Okay. And now you're making me wish that I did bring the napkins over. Gotta get a napkin. Sorry, one more bite. Okay. And again, please excuse me that I might be looking down at my notes and sometimes wearing my glasses, because I do want to make sure that I do this story justice. And I hope that if I forget something, somebody please correct me here and also down below, because I want to make sure that this story gets out there more. So, the uncle came up from Money, Mississippi. He came up to Chicago to get the boy's cousin. Okay. So he was going up there to get him to bring him down there for the summer so they could work and earn some money and be around their cousins. So the mother did not want the son to go. She wanted him to go to Oklahoma to do other things. She was even going to let him have like driving lessons so he could learn how to drive. Remember, he's only 14. He's just a boy. But he begged and pleaded with his mother to let him go down to Mississippi so that he could earn money and he can also hang out with his cousins. Now, this story really gets to me, not because I'm a mom of 2 sons, not because I have a brother, not because I have a husband, but because I'm a human being. And when you hear this story, it like really tugs at you. And it actually happened. And not that long ago, it actually happened. So he begged his mother to let him go. So she took him to, I think, the train station, and she allowed him to go down with the uncle to Mississippi. So he goes down there, and they're working on a cotton field, picking cotton. Again, he's only 14. And it was a hot day, of course, in Mississippi.
That was the way they made money.
Right. Back then. Right. So, because after slavery, they still would like pick cotton just so they can make money, you know, just so that they could live. So, yeah. So it was a hot day. They decided to go into Bryant's Market. Now, according to the information that I have, Bryant's Market, it did cater to black people because it was in a kind of like a black neighborhood. So they knew about black people. It wasn't just a predominantly white market. So the boys, it was a group of teenage boys. They went in And she got some more hot sauce. Nice. They went in, and the stories are not completely all meshing. So I'd have to go with the cousin that was actually in the store with the young boy and go by what he said happened. He said that when they went in, everything transpired and the young boy wanted to get candy. So he went in, he got candy, and he like paid for the candy and kind of said like a remark to her. It wasn't anything that was like, you know, pornographic or anything like that, but it was like a comment, you know, it wasn't even like a thing. It was just like something that he said offhanded, like, you know, I dated white women before or something along those lines. And there are some accounts that say that he whistled at her, like affectionately.
They say you did the wolf whistle.
Yeah, like, I like you whistle back then. So she got mad when they left. And according to some reports, she went to her car to get a gun because of a wolf whistle. So the boys left and they went home to the uncle's house.
And he was 14.
14.
And how old was she?
Grown. She was 21.
Yeah, married.
Grown and married.
So she got a gun for
A 14-year-old who whistled at her. Mm-hmm. Allegedly. So the boys went back to the uncle's house and they're sleeping. You know, it's time to go to bed and everything. And according to reports, that was 4 days later, her husband and his half brother came to the uncle's house looking for this specific boy. They came into the uncle's house. Now imagine this. You're a 14-year-old kid. You're laying in your bed sleeping. It's 2:30 in the morning. They came into his house and they went from room to room searching for this boy. They found one boy and they said, no, that's not him. Then they went and they found him, Emmett Till. They found him. He was there in the room sleeping. And they, according to one documentary, they told him to get his shoes on or something like that. Something about his shoes. Like he left a shoe or they told him to get his shoes on. The uncle said, look, guys, just, you know, I'll go ahead and send him back to Chicago. He doesn't know about the rules that are going on down here. He's a young kid. I'll just put him on the next bus back to Chicago. And they weren't trying to hear it. They dragged the boy out of the house and put them in their truck.
And these weren't even cops.
Yeah, these weren't even cops. These were just regular people.
Regular citizens.
Regular citizens who could just go into somebody's house and drag out your cousin, your 14-year-old cousin. That's crazy.
Because in the Jim Crow South, they had their own type of laws.
Exactly. They had their own set of rules for whites and blacks. So they put the boy into the truck. Now, in the truck, supposedly, allegedly, was the white woman. And she said, yeah, that did it. And in the truck also was another black guy. This black guy was heard and people saw him restraining the young boy, Emmett Till, restraining him in the back seat. So they took him to a shed. Now, there was an eyewitness that went there. Well, he was around there, like doing something, like cleaning up or something. And he said he heard screams coming from the shed. Now, this time the uncle is thinking that these white guys are just going to whip him, which is a bad thing in his own self. But they're just going to whip him and let him go. So they're hoping that the boy is going to come back to the house, you know, eventually. They don't hear anything. Days later, they found Emmett Till's body in the river. It was some people that was like, I forget what they were doing. They were fishing or something like that. And they found his body. His body was so badly mutilated that they couldn't even recognize him. He was like restrained with a barbed wire around like a 75-pound fan. That's how they weighed his body down.
Cotton.
A cotton gin fan. That's how they weighed his body down. They couldn't even recognize the body. It was that badly mutilated. Now, before we go any further, sorry, I get my glasses. I want to make sure I get this right. The only way, because remember the uncle was still, he was hoping that the kid would come home that same day, but it was days later now. So the uncle went to the police and filed a missing persons report. So when they found this mutilated body, they took the uncle down to see the body to see if that was him. And the only way the uncle could tell that that was him was because before he left off the bus, before he left Chicago to come down to Money, Mississippi, his mother had given him a ring that she had gotten from his dad, who had died in the army a little bit before that happened. So the father had a ring. The father gave the ring to the mother. Well, the army gave the ring to the mother once the father was executed. And then she gave that ring to Emmett Till. And on the ring, it had the initials LT, because that was the father's name. His name was Louis Till. So the only way the uncle realized that that was him was because the body still had the ring on it. And it said LT. So the police and all of them, they wanted to hurry up and bury the body to get rid of the evidence. So the mother, she came down from Chicago, and she also identified the body because they took her to see the body. And she did not want them to hurry up and bury the body. She actually wanted everybody to see the body, so that way they would know what happened to her son. So she said that when she walked in, the smell was so bad that you could actually smell it blocks away. That's how bad the body had decomposed and everything. So what they actually did to the boy, let's go back to the shit. Because remember, the witness said that they heard screaming. Now remember, he's a 14-year-old boy. So he's already frightened. He's been restrained. He's not understanding what's happening to him because the North versus the South, all the different rules and things that they had going on. So what they did was they beat him so badly. These are grown men, and they beat this boy horribly. They beat him, and this is where I got to make sure I get everything right. Sorry, I should eat something. They cut his tongue out. A 14-year-old boy. They cut his tongue out. They chopped him in the head, and the mother said it was probably with like a cleaver or something, just the way the cuts were. She said that they had knocked out most of his teeth because she was so proud that she had taken care of his teeth. They had knocked out most of his teeth. His ears were missing. They had castrated him. A 14-year-old boy, they took his manhood. They castrated him. They gouged out his eyes. All of that because he wolf whistled at a white woman. And then they shot him in the head. And then they tied him to a cotton gin, 75-pound cotton gin, and just threw him into the river. So the mother was like, I want everybody to see what happened to my baby. We're going to have, I'm sorry, I'm not going to say, we're going to have an open casket. So people from miles around came. From what I've seen, over 100,000 people came to go see this boy in the casket. And I just saw the picture today because I can't deal with stuff like this. I mean, this is a lot. This is heavy. So I didn't want to see the pictures, but before I decided to do the mukbang video, I wanted to see the picture. And it was just really bad. You need to Google it just to see what the picture was like, what they did to this young boy. So the mother has the open casket, and they decided they want to go ahead and try the two men that did this.
Did you mention the uncle? He was telling the two white guys that he was just sending them on the bus to Chicago.
I did. I said that. That the uncle was pleading with them. Hey, he doesn't know how it is down here. we'll go ahead and send him, I'll put him on the next bus. The next bus, I'll send him back to Chicago. Don't do this. And they weren't listening. They weren't having it. They weren't listening to him. So they actually abducted him, kidnapped him, and took him to that shed. Pretty good. Black and ranch is really good. So the mother, they decided to prosecute the two men. Take them to court. And they were trying different things so that way they could convey what had happened to this young boy. They had the uncle there on the stand. The uncle stood up, and back then you didn't do that. The uncle actually stood up and pointed and said, "It's these two guys. These are the two guys that came into my house and took my nephew." And you just didn't do that back then because he knew that something was going to happen to him, but he didn't care. He wanted to make sure he got the story out. So the judge dismisses the jury into the deliberation room. And according to reports, they had already made their decision before they even left the jury room. And they said that they ordered food and beer just to make it look good. So after an hour of deliberation, they come back and they say, not guilty. And they completely let the guys go. They were exonerated, which is unbelievable. The mother said she up and left. When the jury left, that's when she left because she knew that they weren't going to get justice for her son. I can't believe that this actually happened.
Yeah, it was like a lot of black people in the courtroom too that left before the judge made the ruling because they knew what the ruling was going to be because it was an all-white jury. So all the black people that was in the courtroom left before they even made the judgment.
The decision. I don't know if y'all can hear him, but he's saying that a lot of the black people were there in the courtroom and they knew too because it was an all-white male jury. So they already knew what the outcome was going to be.
In the Deep South.
In the Deep South. Money, Mississippi. No one else was eating chicken? I mean, come on. I wish I had a napkin. It would have been nice to have a napkin. I guess I should have got napkins. Thank you. Is that bad? I'm making it worse. Wish I had a napkin. Dang. Sorry, guys. Next time, napkin.
And plates.
And plates. Is it gone? Okay, thank you. Okay. I just gotta put it right there. I'm sorry. Oh, mashed potatoes. Everybody forgot about the mashed potatoes and gravy. Is there any better than the Popeyes? Although KFC gravy is delicious. That's good too. Sorry. Hope nobody else.
Gravy.
I usually dip my fries in the mashed potatoes.
Well, then I won't double dip. Why in the mashed potatoes? Potato and potato. Thank you, chef. But I can't eat the end of the french fries. That's just my thing. I eat most of the french fries, but I can't eat the end. It's just hard and crunchy.
Explain.
I'd rather not. I don't really like crunchy that bad. That's why I can't do KFC's extra crispy.
You eat crunchy chicken.
I love chicken, but not extra crunchy. So let's go back to the trial. The trial is over, and the uncle decides, hey, we're getting out of here. So within days, he packed up his family and they went up to the north. The mother, she actually, let me back up just a little bit, because I thought they had the funeral in Mississippi, but no, according to what I read, she actually brought the body up to Chicago, and I didn't know that part. So she brought the body up to Chicago. So also what I read was Rosa Parks was actually thinking about this, because this happened like, please don't come for me. It was either 2 weeks or 2 months after this happened. It's probably 2 months. That makes a little more sense. But probably 2 months after this happened, where the jury was actually, they exonerated the 2 murderers, that Rosa Parks was actually on the bus thinking about what had happened to Emmett Till. And that was one of the reasons why she refused to give up her seat on the bus. So really, the Emmett Till story is one of the main reasons why the whole civil rights movement started. And that was really interesting to me. Now this whole story gives me like a pit in my stomach that it actually happened, especially because I actually do have nephews that are 14 years old right now, and they don't know anything. They don't, they're just adorable little kids. So for that boy to be tortured and murdered, and then for his murderers to get off is just really upsetting to me. But as I was watching the documentary with my husband, who I have to thank, because he made me sit down and watch the documentary, because again, I don't like stuff like this. I don't like hearing about, I'm a happy person by nature. So for me to hear something like this, it really does take a toll on me. It takes me a minute to shake it off, and get back to being my happy self. So according to the documentary that we watched, there was a beautiful thing that the mother said, and her name was Mamie Till. I want to make sure that I got her name out there as well. She said that after all of this had transpired, God came to her in a vision. And in the vision, he said that, excuse me, I'm going to get this. He said that Emmett Till was not hers. He was God's. And that he had a very special assignment while he was here on earth. And I just thought that was so beautiful. That when she said it, she wasn't so upset. She said it, and God gave her that peace.
And it was said, right, that she wanted it to be an open casket funeral, so that everybody could see what they done to help stop it from happening again. They can see it.
Right.
It was a big part of starting the civil rights movement.
Right.
But this happened in the 50s.
Right.
The civil rights movement didn't start until the 60s, right?
Right. And he, this all happened to him. Well, he was born July 25th, 1941, and he died August 48th, 1955. So I just thought at the end of that, for her to say that was just a beautiful testament to such a tragedy that had happened. So this was my first mukbang. We had plenty of Popeyes chicken. We're going to be eating on this for a couple of days now, unless I really get to
today.
Probably just today. So thank you very much for tuning in to Inside Out Triangle. Let me know if you have any other stories that you want me to tell, but I'm just basically going to really dig into history horror stories, because these things really did happen, and I didn't learn about this in school. Not in any school, elementary school, middle school, high school, college, none of this. I had to thank my husband for that. So I'm going to be really digging into some stuff, and just go ahead and make sure that you please subscribe, comment below, and see you next time.